So Monday, January 15th, at 6 o'clock Eastern, we're going to be doing another free drop-in for queer scar care. Any scars, doesn't need to be gender-related scars. So you're welcome to do that. And in the bio for Soul Skin Bodywork and for Queerly Fluid, you can find the link for tomorrow's free drop-in. So you can sign up and you'll get an email. And you can just come in and ask your questions. It's a drop-in. You can come in, you can leave. You don't need to stay the whole time. There's no like major opening or closing. It's just open space for you to be able to chat with us. So
yeah, we've been using this time to chat about pieces that we're interested in that might be curious to some of you. So these are things you can ask about, but if you've got other questions or curiosities, show up with those. It's great. It's for whatever you want to use it for.
Yep. Any scars.
Yeah.
And today we wanted to talk about internal adhesions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, often when we think about scars, talk about scars, the first thing that comes up for people is the externally visible part of a scar, which makes sense. And we really like talking about and working with the internal and unseen aspects of scar tissue as well, because there's a lot more than what's most obviously visible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've got adhesions in my body from, I'm pretty sure, from a car wreck when I was a child, perhaps two. And lately, I've been taken to cupping, and I just got them on Amazon, actually, not to support them, but just to say that's where I got them. They're just silicone cups. So I think it was like $15 for a pack. And I've been using those on my belly to make more spaciousness. And instead of, so often we think of, like massaging, but that's pushing down. And so I've been using cupping on my belly. And I've made it part of my morning routine. So I do it every morning. And it's been making so much more space in my stomach. A lot of my digestive stuff is really relaxed. I'm thankful for that. So my body, my experience, but that expansion and the use of castor oil for the hydration, which we've talked about a lot, how important that is for scars. So
yeah, the cupping is one of the few ways and a really accessible way to work with that kind of negative space. So you're creating a little bit of a vacuum. A lot of the other techniques we have is more like spreading or pressing. And so if you have something that's compacted, as adhesions often are, helping to create a bit more space can often be a helpful addition to other kinds of techniques you might be using, as you have found for this situation.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of folks that have hysterectomies and or cesarean scars that they know that there's an adhesion in there. They're like, oh, this part of the scar pulls at this thing. Or, I've got one person who's like, this part of the scar, I don't want you to massage because I think it's attached to a nerve that's attaching to my vulva. And I like that. I'm like, great. It's not a problem for you. I love that. So,
yeah.
And they can massage their scar and get stimulated, which I was like,
that's so cool.
That's a pretty convenient adhesion you've got there. Yeah.
I love the protectiveness. Don't touch it.
Yep. Well, and I've had that with vaginoplasty as well, is folks who are like, okay, but the way that this is pulling on that thing, I want that to remain that way. I'm like, yeah, great, awesome. Yeah. We won't go releasing any of that. Yeah. So, yeah. But this area over here. So, yeah.
Yeah,
the internal
so
work.
Different. Like forms differently, affects people differently. It's so personalized. It's not really just like release everything as much as possible. It's so particular to the individual person and each person's body.
Yeah, that's part of why we wanted to do these regular drop-ins. So y'all could just come in and ask questions. Like not everybody has the time or the money or the resources or the desire to come in to see a practitioner, but you can at least like drop in and just ask us some questions about your particular body, and we can offer what we've got, so
we've been loving the people that have come in so far, bringing such different questions and different energies at different stages of healing or prepping for surgery or having, looking back at past scars. And it's been a real interesting variety, and we're excited for more to see what y'all bring in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I especially love the folks who have older scars.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody recently was working on that had a scar more than a decade old. And they're really nervous about the scar because, sometimes they were like, oh, sometimes it's like I get pins and prickles when I touch it. So I tell people, like, lovers, not to touch it. And as we started working on the scar and releasing it, it was beautiful to watch them kind of realize how protective they had been of it, beautifully so, and how protective they didn't need to be anymore. Just being able to have trust with me to then feel the way that I was touching their body and be like, oh, that's okay to touch it that way. I can stretch it, I can move it, I can create elasticity, I can give it more space. And then I don't feel fearful, and I'm not waiting to have to tell somebody, oh, actually don't,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hugely impactful. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think of, like, we're talking about adhesions that, come about because of internal trauma, but also just kind of like, I think of it as like the spirit and heart adhesions, that show up because of, because of they had good reason to be fearful at one point, and that was a decade ago. So, some bodies, yeah, maybe something else is going on, but there's nothing else going on, and it was ready for some stretching. So.
Yeah, I find the kind of mythology and metaphor of scar tissue really beautiful and often quite interesting in how that plays out for people. There's this tissue that is our own tissue, but it's a little bit different than the tissue around it. And it does this amazing job of holding things together and keeping us safe. And then it also really locks things down and roots into tissue around it. And it's often kind of clamping down on things. And we so often see mirrored emotional experiences along with that physiological experience. So that's kind of why we're talking about, holistic, multi-varied types of scar care, because it's pretty rare for someone to just have a physical thing with the scar. Usually there's some kind of experience or association or something that's kind of bound up with that, and people work with that different ways with the physical manifestation. But yeah, there's often a lot happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I'm thinking about I really love using castor oil. That's what I use when I'm cupping, because the viscosity of it's so rich and moisture. And I'm thinking, what would be the equivalent of the, like, heart castor oil that we give ourselves?
Oh, the consistency makes me think of honey a lot.
Ooh.
And honey has such interesting medicinal properties too, and its own interesting backstory. Maybe there's something there.
Also often
Heart
used
tonic.
for scars,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wound healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that.
There's something in there. We'll find it.
Yeah. What is the emotional honey we give ourselves?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm going to chew on that one. There's a ritual in there to be found
Absolutely,
somewhere.
for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. That's nice. Okay. Well, if y'all want to chat about your trauma wounds, your liposuction scars,
Your heart honey.
your heart honey, your cesarean scars, like whatever queer scar you've got, you can drop by tomorrow at 6 Eastern. Links in our bios.
Yeah.
And we'd love to just chat with you. That it's just a couple of folks coming in and out. People ask their questions, they leave, and they come in later. They ask their questions, they leave. Like,
yeah,
you can just pop by from the comfort of your home.
Yeah. And an invitation on this topic just to think about, if you do have scars, thinking about what else might be happening or might have happened with that scar. So things like we talked about, how cesareans have multiple different layers of tissue that often ends up kind of healing together. Things like liposuction has all kinds of internal scar tissue way beyond the little incisions on the outside. And there's liposuction involved in lots of different kinds of surgical procedures. So if you have scars and you've been thinking about dropping in, invitation to think about or ask us about ways that that scar might have other tendrils and things happening in the body.
Yeah. Excellent. All right.
See you there.
Bye.